The cobblestones of Vienna always felt alive, not in a charming, old-world way, but in a way that made the hairs on your arms stand up. I was a student then, an exchange student named Leo, trying to soak in the city's history. But I was drawn to a different kind of history, one not found in the grand museums or opera houses. I was drawn to the whispers. It started subtly. Walking home late at night through the narrow, gaslit alleys of the First District, I'd hear things. A faint, dry rustle, like dead leaves skittering across pavement, even on a windless night. A soft, sibilant whisper that seemed to come from the sewer grates, a sound like paper-thin voices just at the edge of hearing. I'd stop, strain my ears, but there would be nothing but the distant hum of the city. I brushed it off at first. Vienna is an old city, full of strange echoes and drafts. My imagination was just running wild. My apartment was in a centuries-old building near the Spittelberg Quarter. It was all slanted floors and creaking timbers, charming in the daylight, but unsettling after dark. One night, I was studying, the only light coming from my desk lamp. The window was open to the cool night air. That's when I heard it again, clearer this time, a chorus of whispers rising from the street below. It wasn't German, or any language I could recognize. It was a dry, chittering sound, layered and complex. I crept to the window and peered down. The street was empty. The gas lamps cast long, dancing shadows, but nothing moved. Yet the whispering continued, seeming to emanate from the very stones themselves. My curiosity began to curdle into obsession. I started researching Vienna's underbelly, not the criminal kind, but the literal one. The catacombs, the old Roman sewers, the forgotten cellars that formed a labyrinth beneath the city. I found old maps in the university library, dusty tomes filled with forgotten lore. One book, bound in cracked leather, spoke of the flusterer, the whisperers. The legend was vague, dismissed by most historians as folklore. It described creatures who lived in the darkness below, ancient things that predated the city itself. They were said to be drawn to sadness, to despair, feeding on the echoes of human misery. The book claimed they could mimic voices, luring the unwary into the depths. It was nonsense, of course. A scary story to tell children, but it wouldn't leave my mind. Driven by a mix of academic curiosity and a growing dread, I sought out an urban explorer I'd heard about, an old man named Klaus who knew the underground better than anyone. I found him in a smoky, dimly lit cafe, a place that seemed to belong to another era. He had eyes that had seen too much and a hand that trembled slightly as he lifted his coffee cup. When I mentioned the flusterer, his face went pale. He tried to wave me away, calling it a dangerous fantasy, but I was persistent. I told him about the whispers I'd been hearing, the sounds from the grates, the feeling of being watched from below. He listened, his expression shifting from dismissal to a kind of worry recognition. Finally, he sighed, a plume of smoke escaping his lips. He agreed to show me something, but he made me promise to never speak of it and to never, ever go down there alone. A few nights later, we met at a discreet entrance to the old sewer system, a heavy iron manhole hidden in the secluded courtyard. The air that rose to meet us was thick, ancient, and foul. Armed with powerful flashlights, we descended a rusty ladder into the oppressive dark. The world above vanished, replaced by a dripping, echoing blackness. The tunnels were a maze of brick and stone, some Roma, some medieval. The sound of our footsteps was unnervously loud. Klaus led me through winding passages, his light cutting a sharp beam through the gloom. He pointed out markings on the walls, strange symbols I didn't recognize from any historical text. "Trail markers," he grunted. "Not ours." Then we started to hear it. Faint at first, then growing louder. That same dry, rustling whisper I'd heard from my apartment window. It was all around us, coming from the intersecting tunnels, from grates in the ceiling, from the very walls. It was a sound that felt physically wrong, like insects skittering inside your skull. My heart hammered against my ribs. Klaus stopped, holding up a hand. He pointed his flashlight down a side passage. "Don't shine your light." "Just look." I peered into the darkness, my eyes struggling to adjust, and I saw them. At the edge of the shadows, things were moving. They were hard to see, their forms seeming to shift and blur. They were pale, almost translucent, with long, spindly limbs that moved in a jerky, unnatural way. They were thin, impossibly so, like sketches of figures made from dried reeds and shadow. They clung to the walls and ceilings, their bodies contorting at sickening angles. I couldn't see faces, just a suggestion of hollows where eyes should be. And from them, from all of them, came that incessant layered whispering. It wasn't a language. It was just a sound of immense ancient hunger. My breath hitched. I stumbled back, my hand flying to my mouth to stifle a scream. Klaus grabbed my arm, his grip like iron. "I told you," he hissed, his voice tight with fear. They are drawn to strong emotions. Fear. Sadness. It's like food to them. Stay calm. But it was too late. One of them, closer than the others, turned its featureless head toward us. The whispering around us intensified, focusing, 100 dry voices whispering my name. Leo, 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 Leo. It sounded like my mother, then my father, then a girl I once loved. The voices were perfect mimics, filled with a pleading, desperate sorrow. "Leo, help us. We're lost." "Come closer." I was frozen, mesmerized by the sound. My own grief, my own secret sadnesses, felt like they were being pulled from my chest. Klaus yanked my arm, hard. "Don't listen. It's a trick." "It's always a trick." He started pulling me back the way we came, half dragging me through the tunnels. The rustling sound was right behind us now, a sound of 1,000 dry limbs scrambling over brick. The whispers became a cacophony, a storm of desperate, sorrowful voices calling my name, begging me to turn back. I didn't dare look. I just ran, my lungs burning, my mind screaming. We scrambled up the ladder, gasping for air, and Klaus slammed the heavy manhole cover shut. The sound was instantly cut off. We leaned against the cold brick wall of the courtyard, panting, our flashlights shaking in our hands. The normal sounds of the city, a distant siren, music from a bar, had never sounded so beautiful, so sane. What were they? I finally managed to ask, my voice trembling. Klaus took a long, shaky breath. "The sadness that seeps through the cracks. The city's forgotten pain. They've been down there forever. The flusterer. They don't just mimic voices, kid. They take the echoes of people who got lost down there. The despair becomes a part of them. Another voice in their chorus." He looked at me, his old eyes filled with a terrible certainty. "They have your voice now, too. They'll be waiting. I never walked those narrow streets at night again." I moved to a modern apartment building on the other side of the city, far from the old district. But sometimes, when the city is quiet and the wind is just right, I think I can hear it. A faint, dry whisper, carried on the breeze from a sewer grate down the street. It sounds a bit like me, and it's calling my name. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to like and subscribe for more Tales from the Shadows.